Hello, everyone. It's Cate Stillman with Yoga Health Coaching, and I'm here with Jules White, Down Under, who came into yoga health coaching with a background in environmental consultancy, and you're still doing that. And we're going to talk a little bit today about a few things. One is the next phase of merging these two worlds, your Living Wisely course, right, that you've built through YHC, and also what happens when people in our community see us appearing in a new light or stepping more into leadership, and how that can be challenging emotionally to navigate something like that.
Yeah, perfect. Yep.
Okay. So what's the desired outcome from this session? It's like to have a better sense of how to offer living wisely within the environmental consultancy space, and how to put yourself out in a way that feels
not comfortable, because I don't necessarily want to be comfortable, but I think also having actions.
I would say growth oriented, something like that.
Yeah.
That feels like you're really growing into your next dharma.
Yes, please. So who am I becoming next would be great to identify. And who do I need to be to allow this new phase to come alive?
Okay, great. So with it seems like the core issues for people that work in environmental consultancy, whether it's on the I mean, anything from people who are on the ground level work to the policy level work, is that like burnout's real. It's a hard, it can feel like the world's against you, or at least the modern economy is against you. And so mental health and resilience and physical resilience is an important part of the journey to stay in that field for a long time.
And there are also so like the waste industry, who I've been working with, local councils, has been an absolute basket case in Australia. So 5 years ago, China has become sustainable. So we're not going to accept your recycling, aka our rubbish, anymore, unless it's sorted properly. And the industry just completely fell apart. And so to be able to have that resilience in people, to be able to say, great, new challenge, what's the opportunity here? Whereas people just go, oh, we can't cope, and just crash. So it'd be great to be able, like you said, build the resilience in people so that they can take on the next environmental challenge.
Yeah. So who do you think, I'm always like, who will pay the bill, right? Like who would you be, who do you have to enroll? Is it at the HR level? Is it at the, because I think you're dead on. So it's like, even if it was like 50-50 copay with the company and the, and the employee.
And the participant. Because I think it'd be important for the participant to actually have some energy exchange. So even half, like you say, copay.
Yeah, we find it in the past tests that we've done, it doesn't work when the company is all in because people don't show up. And I think that's maybe the thing that you could do next research on, is like, how might some of these more progressive environmental companies or agencies, what programs might they have, and who's actually looking for, in many ways, like people like you, and then how do you pitch to them, market to them, but also market to their employees, because you can also do like that direct B2C and B2B.
Yeah, because we're actually got a company now who's we also work with companies and clients who just run their own businesses. So chiropractic company, wellbeing companies, or a painting company. And it'd be great to get in to help. Then they want to become sustainable. So we're writing their sustainability strategy. So my first thought would be to go to the CEO, to have a conversation with them. It's a family-owned business. Have a conversation with them. Say, hey, we're doing this with you, but I would love to have a conversation as well about this. And then I think you're right. It might become under the HR. Because that's kind of that people, and they may have a wellbeing program. It seems to be quite popular, the wellbeing programs. And my question is, would you do the 10-week, 12-month program type of thing, or is it more, or have you seen people market differently and do it in, you need the time, you need the 12 months. But I'm just curious, how do you get them on board? So is it again coming back to doing something like a workshop or a seminar or something to see how to test them out, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I would almost look at it as like a club membership thing because we know that time matters. There are different issues that arise when like people who are working together are being coached together. Like part of it is that they might not want to be as transparent than as they would with, complete
Yes.
strangers.
Yeah.
But I think I would just explore it's like the Venn diagram of what they're missing, what you have, and then what
Yes.
structure would actually work for success.
Yeah.
And I would do that in a collaborative way and just start to experiment and kind of see where it wants to go.
Yeah.
And then I think at the same time, the more you're marketing to people that work in environmental everything, right? And just directly sending messages around like caring for the people who are fighting for the planet, like something very simple like that, and have campaigns around that. So you get known in Australia as the person who's caring for the people who are caring for the planet, something like that. And then with that, it's just all B2C. Like you don't even have, like, yeah, you can get interested in the agencies and the companies that they're working in and what kind of well-being programs they have, and seeing if they can. Often what we found is that they can apply to their company. They usually have to fill out a form, and then they get cash to spend, and then they show them the receipt.
Yeah. Great.
And so it's a great way to be like, hey, and also ask at your agency if they have anything like this, because often those funds are just not used. I mean, really, like it's an interesting thing to do some research on those wellness care programs and the funds, and they're large. They're not that effective often, and a lot of the funds just never move.
And it seems,
and that's an interesting social media campaign in it too. Like, hey, are you fighting for the planet? And are there like, it's like, does your company have money to invest in you and your mental health and your well-being? Because that can be a whole other type of, like way to, we call it spearfishing now, but it's like way to target really specifically people that you're trying to help. Now you're niching really specifically and you're nurturing them in their own language.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Thoughts gone. No, that'd be brilliant, actually, to be able to help. Like, I know so many people, especially in the waste industry, who have just crashed and have burnt out, and they're not being heard. They have ideas of how to actually transform the industry, and I know someone who was quite high up who's now gone back to being an education officer, so taken a massive pay cut and smaller council just so she can, because her mental health was gone. It was really struggling. So
I mean, and that's interesting too when it comes to like price objections and whatnot. It's like, if someone's willing to take a pay cut because their work environment's so unhealthy, well, what if their health was bolstered in another way? Could they potentially be more fit to lead, or would they have more resilience? Because there's a huge, it's like the brain drain that is lost when someone like that leaves the industry, right?
Massive. Like, we're trying to get a MRF, so a materials recycling factory, here in our township, and have how the councils feed into it. So we actually would take the waste and recycling and pull as much as we can to put it back into the economy and those sorts of things. Yeah. And I worked with her for years, and we still haven't got it, and it still hasn't been. And so she just sort of went, and she, it's really challenging for them. I like the idea of doing some research and finding out about the companies and sort of, and I've got a couple of mates who are in corporate, who have worked in corporate, so they will have some ideas. I knew I'd talking to you, I get some ideas. I know I don't know it all. But yeah, so I'm actually talking to one of them tonight, so I'll be able to pick her brains and just see what is available, and then it's marketing to that, hearing language and hearing what
and who they know and the other companies, and then networking. I would very much go word of mouth network, company to company, find out what their programs are, find out what their pain points are. It's almost like approach it more like an informational interview than a sales call, right? Where you're just get us, and I would try to talk to 5 to 7 companies, within, if you want to work more with corporate, because there's probably more flexibility in funding than agencies and paperwork and all that. It'll be faster to work with companies in general. The smaller the company, the faster to move something through. So like big
Yeah.
companies with big budgets don't necessarily mean big opportunities. They can be a massive time suck. So I would just kind of
Yeah.
zone in on like, what are companies that are between, they're doing somewhere between 10 million and 70 million. They've got somewhere between, 15 and 100 employees or contractors, and they really need to keep a core healthy.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? And I would ask them the questions that make them then ask you the questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Sort of open up their world and they go, oh, hang on, what do you mean by about this? And how about this? Or how about that?
Or like, what's going on with your employees? Like, how many of them are struggling with depression right now? And how many are struggling with weight issues? And what percentage of your employees are tired? Right? Because we know all that lessons focus and performance. So there's a real cost. So I would just ask them those questions and like, how has that changed pre-COVID, post-COVID? Right. So that they really have a sense of they've got to take, how important is it in your company to take care of your people, like on the physical level, like helping them take care of their bodies to navigate stress and become resilient.
This has just opened up my whole world into a whole different space, because it is, I don't, unless you're in the YH community or body thrive, I don't see many people thriving. I really don't.
I know. It's hard. COVID created so much separation, right? It's like we were talking about before the conversation. It's like people don't trust their bodies. They don't trust a lot of them don't even trust families. They don't trust their communities. And now the government's taken the role of relationship in a lot of ways. And it's like, within companies, it's like, how do they rebuild that sense of like, we're a team and we're taking care of, we're looking out for you. If you work here, we're looking at you, And I would ask them about their values. Like I would kind of start with a values-driven conversation. So like, what are the values of your company? How do your employees, how do they experience the values of the company? Because that'll just start very, very high level. What's the mission? What are your values? How's that actually showing up? Where are your gaps? What's going on with your employees? What's going on with their health? What's going on with their weight? What's going on with depression? What's going on, right? And you just kind of script it out so that not full sentences, but bullets. And then you're just doing research because you're like, I've got a really cool program and I'm just trying to figure out how to help companies like yours take better care of your employees.
Yeah. And it starts off with them, asking them, and they get to talk about where they're at, what's going on, and those sorts of things. So then it's not about me wanting to do something to them. It's actually listening to them.
You're listening.
And being of service to them.
Yeah. And you can even ask them if it's like appropriate, like what's happened for you and your core team here with personal health. Like what changes have you noticed in the past few years? You can bring up COVID or not. Like what changes have you noticed in terms of your team's health, their mental health, their body weight, their physical health, their ability to focus, their resilience, their ability to take on more, their enthusiasm for the projects. Like really get them thinking about it. And if stuff's going good, be like, why is it working? Like get really curious about like, why is that working? And where are you guys going next? Because then the conversation goes, rather than fixing things, it goes to peak performance. Yeah. And just, you can say like, how invested are you in the peak performance of your core teams?
Yeah. So can I come back once I've done all my research? We have another chat?
Yeah.
Because I'd love to, and then say, here's the information, what can we do with it now? But
or just come, just on YHC, raise your hand on a live session and fill us in, because it's very inspiring to everyone else. Okay, so now let's talk about what's happening as you're putting yourself out there more. You're getting some feedback or some recourse.
It's really interesting. One of the reasons I signed up for YHC is because I knew I'd be a completely different person within 2 years. And I wouldn't be who I was. And I knew I wanted to be someone, and I was stepping into who I wanted to be. And I can feel there's a shift or internal change that needs to happen around confidently putting myself out there and not worrying about what other people think. In the last week, I've had some feedback from people who have disagreed with me about something, or they've said I've let them down, or they don't want to do what I've proposed, and those sorts of things. So there's been an internal turmoil and really upset and not wanting to upset people, because I think one of my values is kindness, so being kind and being generous and helping other people. But I'm realizing that that's theirs, not mine. I think I don't want to hand something off, but and then that in the past I would shrink, but I don't want to shrink as a person. I want to, you can even see the body language, I want to stand up and out. And I've put myself out and contacted some community neighbourhood houses, got some free workshops. They have over 6,000 homes that they're going to promote my free talks to, and some challenges that I'm doing, running a retreat. And I had some people cancel because they couldn't come to retreat because the dates didn't suit. So then sometimes I think I must take it personally, and that's why I shrink. And I thought, no, I can actually fill these two places that aren't coming. So I kind of expanded out, but it's just this. Is this normal? Is this part of the process?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know, right? It's like how to know when you're spot on. Well, you're going to get, yeah. I mean, a few things come to mind. Like one is Grant Cardone's 10X. Like always have so much going on that you don't notice the little things. Like it's like the opposite of all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
So by taking massive action, that creates diversified opportunity. And I do find that that's really important. It's like plan B, plan C are also in the works along with plan A. And then sometimes what happens with that is plan C ends up being the lever that turns into a whole other income stream or a whole other, group of people to serve and help. And that's huge. And so I would say, whatever way you do processing, with the specific issues of like, what part of this is mine? How can I grow? What is in here for me to learn? And the more, when you're being honest with yourself with that, and you might come to that there are some things to learn. And then part of it might be exactly what you're saying, which is like, part of what I'm learning is that I have convictions. And when I make a stand for convictions, it's an opportunity for other people to voice difference. Great.
Yeah. And to be comfortable in the differences as well, and to not take it personally. That's something I'm looking forward to doing.
I mean, to me, it feels like eventually, especially with the professional work, what I notice is like Katie, who is it? I think it was Katie Silcox is asking me on the podcast on her station about that with urine therapy, and just like, being willing to be countercultural to the point of, invoking disgust, something along that, right? Yeah. And it's like, if truth is truth, and it's as truth as far as I can tell, right? So there's always that, right? And then it's like, when you have clear, strong convictions that are counterculture, of course there's going to be pushback, but that's good and right and fine, because it's actually helping those people in a way. They're pushing back against something. I mean, you have 3 children. You remember when they were 2.
Yeah.
And they had to push against something. Like they literally had to push against the wall to stand up.
Yes.
So if you're the person someone's pushing against, that's part of their journey too.
Yeah. That's great. I never thought of it like that. Do you also find as you change, because I'm finding some of my personal relationships are changing, and some people aren't wanting to be on the same journey as me, and like I now train 6 days a week in the morning, which is so different to where we were 12 months ago, doing boxing, RPM, hiking 20, 30 Ks, like just massive difference. And just before
the journey you shared about you and your husband and your trip, your vacation, your fasting reset, your fasting family reset, right? Or couples reset. It's like you're playing an edge that most of these people aren't playing. So you're reporting now. It's like when you go into the forest and you come back and you report the journey, that will definitely challenge people's beliefs and core assumptions. And so for people that need to defend that, I would just say like, yeah, that's awesome. In a way, it means that you went far enough from conventionality for someone to notice.
How have you navigated, negotiated close relationships with friends or soul sisters and stuff who are different spaces? Do you just sort of keep supporting them even when they don't want to step on the train?
I may not be the best person to ask for this because I'm probably, I don't know, I have to look at my personality profile. I imagine I'm fairly high in disagreeableness. Like I don't mind having a different opinion.
Yep.
And I never really have. And so what I'm always looking for is growth relationships. And what I keep finding is that, I think this is one of the massive benefits of age that people don't leverage nearly enough is like, I had a conversation today with someone, we hadn't talked in maybe, oh my gosh, I'm going to say 13, 15 years, like that long.
Yeah, right. A long time.
She's running her husband's yoga teacher training company. He's one of the best yoga teacher trainers in the world. And she was a lawyer and then runs the company, which is a family business. And we're reconnecting. And it's like on so many levels, we're really connecting in ways that are like, oh, of course, because we've walked these parallel journeys. So even though we haven't connected in that long, so, versus my neighbors here who their number one goal is to like ski and bike and smoke weed and drink IPAs. They're on the have a good time program. Yep. I'm just a lot less invested because I know that their goals and my goals are not really intersecting. So it's fun at a neighborhood get together. And other than that, like not much, like it's not much, which for some people, they can't handle the isolation of that. Like I've definitely struggled with it from time to time. But less and less, the more I know where like people are growing. Because then I just have these incredible conversations, even if they are on Zoom. And, for some people, they can be in person. I just live in really remote locations that don't have large populations. But then I also am looking in other ways to like change that. So we just bought some property in a little city that has a really good tech college and PhD program. So I reached out to the people that are intersecting the community and the technology and small business, and I'll have interviews with them next week just to get to know like the people I most want to know in that community. So because of that, I'm always looking for people who are innovating. Yeah. And pulling them into my circle. So I become friends with the innovators and the movers and the shakers of the next thing. And then I don't even really notice the gap in terms of my old friends who are more committed to having a good time on the having a good time program. Yeah. Yeah. And great. There's no less love there or less like I would come help them in a time of need. It's never about that. It's more about protecting my focus towards much larger goals and realizing that time is my hottest commodity. Yeah. And then when I'm with my whatever neighbors, old friends, I'm often in a transformational identity, if you will, where I'm like actually asking them the big hard questions, just knowing that like it's like if not me, then who? So I'm kind of a pain in the ass that way too, where it's like, oh, I haven't, but then it's actually interesting to me. It's actually interesting to me as opposed to talking about how it hasn't snowed in 30 days or whatever, whatever's getting in the way of the having a good time program. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Great. It's just so exciting. I let go of, I see people's potential. Like that's one of my, I'd say it is a superpower. It's a gift. It's one I've developed. Right. So I really see people's potential if they choose to grow, but over time I've had to really let go of having any attachment to their potential. And I'd say that for me has been a hard thing to learn. Yes. And I think if I looked underneath, what is the attachment or what is the uncomfortable bit in terms of what's playing out for me and what's the different, what I see as differences as opposed to
thinking I'm on a different trajectory and stuff. So yeah, great. That's given me something to reflect on.
Where is it coming up that it's the most painful?
Just the discrepancy. So with a few close friends or people who I hang out with, just the discrepancy in terms of how much them being stuck and not moving. And
Are they complaining about it? Are they yeah.
And not, that's it, not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Whereas
they're in negative stressors, right? They have negative stressor habits, including negative mental stressor habits. You have positive stressor habits, including positive mental stressor habits. So you're just going to keep noticing with greater accuracy that gap. What I would do is actually market to that gap, not to them, but at large, and help the people who are, because there's always going to be people that are tipping. Right. Yes. And it's not your friends, but you're like, oh, this is what they're complaining about. Great. That's amazing marketing copy. That's amazing webinar copy. That's amazing email copy, social post copy. Because it really nails that. And then introducing like, okay, this like you're in a negative stressor pattern, like that leads to chronic disease. So you might want to call me and like, let's jumpstart your positive stressor habits. So just use it for marketing. And then it'll feel like it's useful to have those conversations. You know what I mean? Because then you can really get in deep and show interest, and it's interesting when you show interest without trying to change someone, but just to really understand their problem, there's connection.
Yes. Yeah. And I can feel the disconnect. And I think that's what I'm finding uncomfortable, because there's judgment or something else going on, as opposed to genuinely, again, just listening. I keep getting it everywhere, Kate. Just listen. Okay. Yeah.
We all are.
Awesome.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah. And I'm so glad. I mean, you've got your people in YHC, and they're all experiencing the same things. And there's something heartening to know that, like, that's also part of the transformational journey, is like navigating where's a good use of energy and time investment? Where are your growth relationships, and zoning in on growth relationships, and then marketing to the people who need a help in a way that they can hear, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And part of it might be humor. You have humor and you have a real approachability in that. And it's, it's like, it's almost the opposite of like the TMI brag post. It's like the opposite of that, because they don't want to hear it. Like they kind of want to wallow in it, and they kind of want to be in like, oh, poor me, world's going to hell in a handbag. So I would almost start with that of like, I don't know. Like, I think that would be a really interesting social media post. Like, like do the opposite of like, the world's going to hell in a handbag, and like go through the whole, everything that they would say or complain about. And at the end, just to like ask a question, like, or is it?
Yeah.
Because there's another way, and just kind of like, it's kind of like a bait and switch.
Yeah. Because there is another way. It is just divine. It's just so awesome.
Yeah. So then really look at where it's out of reach. What are the barriers? What are their barriers to entry? Because you know what it's like to carry an extra 20, 30 pounds and not think that it's ever coming off, and be behind the 8 ball when you wake up in the morning, and have the fucking job and just try to get through the day. And it's like, how do you connect with that person who wants a different future?
Yeah. When we did those 2 or 3 stages back, I was blown away at how I had no idea what was waiting for me around the corner after I spoke with Grace and signed up. But just that the knowledge I have now is just so woven and integrated in my family's life deeply. And it doesn't matter what time of the day, if I'm out of whack, I can just turn around and get straight back into alignment. It's so easy. But I was so gobsmacked at how little I knew, but I was seeking and searching for something, because I knew it was there. I knew it was available. I knew I could be in balance. I knew I could heal my own body, but didn't know what it was. And I just thought, now I have the master key to life.
Yeah. So that's in the marketing then, just like we did in the workshop with this, who you were 3 stages back. It's like, you can't give them the after. They don't want to hear it. Right. And what they want to hear is that you can relate to who they are right now and the struggles they have right now, and give some invitation to connection.
Yeah. Again, it's that listening and connecting.
Yeah.
They might be.
That'll be fun for you to do, even like tons of informational interviews. And they're, you know, it's like AKA strategy sessions, but they're really informational, and you're just collecting a ton of good data and learning what's really going on, how people are really thinking between their earballs.
You've picked out how you've pulled out how I get switched on into, because sitting doing a strategy session and going through the thing doesn't, I just crash and burn. But for me, it's like, oh, who are you? Informational sessions, collecting data, doing the science, and that just switches me on. And I go, oh, okay. Now I'm thinking, oh, who can I talk to? Who can I actually now? Which is completely different to thinking, I've got to get these people in my program. I've got to talk to so and so. Like, it's massive.
I would obsess on like, how are you stuck? Like, that's what I would do a whole campaign around. Like, I'm doing research, and I'm really wondering like how you're stuck and what you think is keeping you stuck and what's super frustrating right now and what you really, really want, but don't think you can have. Something like that. And just be like, I'm just collecting data. I would love to find out. So if you're feeling stuck, let's chat. Yeah. Yeah. And
you
just
can also,
it'll be illuminating for you. I would make a promise like that, because it will be illuminating for them.
Yeah.
To have a heart to heart.
But also, where are they stuck? Like, going back, swinging right back to the start, environmental companies, even just companies and businesses, where are you stuck?
Yeah.
With your staff, and where are they stuck and what's happening? So again, I'm going to do 3 months of informational gathering.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what comes out of it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Cate. As always.
Oh, Jules, my pleasure. You've been so much fun to work with in yoga health coaching. I just really, and I know it wasn't like we're in the process of trying to figure out this next brand as a coaching company, because we're like people like you come in and it's like, well, I'm not really a yoga teacher. And we're like, we know, but this works. So now we're like, maybe it's the coaching network. Maybe it's like the Guru Club. We can't figure it out.
I've had people saying to me, because I posted my certification and stuff, and they go, and so people have been talking to my husband saying, so Jules is a yoga teacher now, is she? And she go, no.
Yeah, we will. I'll call you up and help you and help. You can help me problem solve on this. I'm doing my own informational interviews to figure out what this next evolution is, so that we're not so off brand. There
will be an essence of who we are and what we do that will come to light. And it's understanding what that essence is and putting words to describe it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Awesome. We'll report back. We can have you I would love for you to do a little mini presentation in YHC after a bunch of these interviews, and just report back like how they went, what you learned, how they're different than a strategy session. With companies and with individuals. I'm sure people here, they're going to write in the comments like, yes, please, Jules, do that.
And for me to report back, so 3 months from now, that will be what I'll do. Because if I have a timeline, and I know, because this is what happened when you pinned my butt with intermittent fasting, because I had to report back. I go,
that's right.
Hang on.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it's been up and down, but I found an app which just basically tells me the times when I fast, and I've been doing it religiously for the last 2 weeks, and it's just gold.
What's the app?
Body Fast.
Body Fast. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
all right. Have some great conversations. I can't wait to hear.
I know. Neither can I. Thank you.
You bet. Bye.
See you.